Time do you spend each day reading?
I've never counted it because to me, when I was in school, I hated school. But when I didn't have to do it, suddenly it became a great source of information. And now it's so easy, either with a handheld, Kindle too, from Amazon makes a book reading. You don't have to lug the books around. You can do it anywhere, anytime. So it becomes, if you're curious, you can satisfy that curiosity more easily than ever before.
Do you think newspapers will become extinct? John Kerry seems to be quite worried about the Boston Globe and other such.
Well,
I'd be happy to see that one become extinct. But.
Well, a lot of them will. And I think each of them in various cities have got to try to determine how do you have content that appeals to a local audience. You just can't count on the fact that you have a monopoly. Those days are over. So you're going to have to work with the web. You're going to have content that is unique to that market. And yes, there's going to be a lot of blood on the floor. And there was a great spoof, by the way. Your listeners will love it, on YouTube. Not a spoof, actually. They did a piece. The Daily Show did a piece on the New York Times. The New York Times let them in. Didn't realize the Daily Show has no respect for anybody. They'll take anybody on. And the guy who did it starts the thing off by saying, you know, once upon a time, people would get their news on pieces of paper. Can you believe it? And goes to the New York Times, and he goes to one of the editors and says, well, why would somebody like aged news? And the editor says, what do you mean aged news? And he shows him the newspaper. What is on here that is happening today? And so,
that's very interesting.
So go to YouTube. Now, you'll like it.
Do you hold these aged papers in your hand at all?
I still do.
I'm a big fan of the printed word. What publications do you read in a typical day?
Well, you have to look at the New York Times, just because it is what it is, and you got to know what's up to. But the Investors Business Daily, Wall Street Journal, USA Today.
I'm with you on all of those.
Financial Times, got to look at that in my business.
We read exactly the same thing.
And maybe a local paper. I do a lot of traveling.
Investors Business Daily is a terrific publication.
Underappreciated, but they are fantastic.
Their editorial page is fabulous.
And their front page, too, they'll focus on things and stories that others might not. So it's a good paper. You get unique content.
I'm a big fan of foreign policy, very interested, and I find Financial Times indispensable in terms of what's happening with the European Union and the Lisbon Treaty and all of that kind of thing. What are your favorite magazines?
Well, aside from Forbes magazine.
Obviously.
Then it becomes eclectic. What depends what it has. Maybe National Geographic even occasionally has a piece that would be of interest. But then it has to be a show me one.
Yeah. Even though it has a liberal slant, I find The Economist to be extremely helpful.
Well, you're right. The Economist is helpful in the sense that they cover parts of the world that you don't find elsewhere, sort of like the FT. Yeah. So yes, absolutely The Economist, and
they're very good on what's happening in the UK.
And they have great covers too. Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah. No,
they even did a story several years ago extolling the flat tax. So I thought, boy, these guys sometimes really get it right.
Yeah, I find it to be indispensable reading. Really an excellent publication. Steve, you've run for president twice. In 1996 and 2000. And you did well.
You know what that's like, too.
I do. You did well. We're going to have to take a break in a minute, so I'm going to save a lot of this for following the break. But I'm interested in getting from you what lessons you learned from those two campaigns. I'd be interested in knowing how much they cost financially from your personal resources. And I would also make this point. There has never been a better year for you to consider running again than 2012. There really is no front runner for the Republican nomination. There's no real political heavyweight out there. And many people, after having suffered a defeat or more than one defeat come back and do very well later on. There's a sense of royalty and succession in the Republican Party.
Yes.
Where people say, well, maybe it's his turn now. So when we come back from these messages, I'm going to ask you some of those questions. Stay with us. We'll be back with Steve Forbes, unless I've scared him away.
Hi, I'm Congressman Tom Tancredo. I just returned from a hearing on the southern border in a place called Brownsville, Texas. One of the participants in the hearing told us that for them, a border really doesn't exist between the United States and Mexico. Well, unfortunately, a lot of people have that attitude, that there are no such things as borders, that they really don't matter, that they're just lines on a map and nobody should pay attention to them, and that we're all just residents of the North American continent. Well, you know what? That's baloney. It's baloney, but only if you will do something about it to prove to the people of this country, and especially to your elected officials, that you know borders matter, that you know the sovereignty of this country is at risk, and that you will take action to make sure that they understand it. That action is best taken by calling your local talk radio stations, writing letters to the editor, and of course, letting members of Congress know that you know. That's the best thing. They're hoping, as a matter of fact, that no one really picks up on this issue of a North American trade association that essentially eliminates borders. But the fact is it's happening. You can see parts of it all of the time. So it's something that we need to stop. America, and I mean the United States of America, not the continent, but the United States of America is at